Did you know that nearly 70% of men over 60 experience reduced blood flow to their penis, and most of them silently accept it as normal aging? But what if I told you that decline isn't inevitable, that there are specific science-backed actions you can take starting today to restore vitality, boost blood flow, and reignite intimacy? I'm Dr. James Ellison, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist. I've spent over 30 years helping men reclaim their confidence, sexual health, and quality of life, especially after 60. I'm not just here to talk science, I'm here to change your life. Most men think improving sexual health after 60 means pills or surgery. But the truth is, you can dramatically improve blood flow and performance through 7 simple yet overlooked daily habits, most of which you've never heard from your doctor. These methods aren't just about erections. They're about restoring your energy, intimacy, confidence, and even your cardiovascular health. Your penis is a window into your overall well-being when blood flows freely there. It flows freely everywhere. In this guide, I'll walk you through 7 essential strategies to care for your penis, support healthy circulation, and reignite intimacy without medication, painful procedures, or embarrassment. You deserve to feel alive, desired, and fully functional, no matter your age. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell, so you never miss another men's health tip designed especially for life after 60. If you find this helpful, type 1 in the comments, if not, type 0. Your feedback helps me make these videos better for you. Now let's begin with the very first and perhaps most powerful step you can take to improve blood flow naturally moving your body. And no, you don't need to run marathons. Just a simple daily habit can transform your circulation and intimacy. After 60, prioritize daily aerobic exercise. If there's one thing I've seen time and time again in my practice, it's that movement is medicine. Especially after 60. In fact, I've had patients who walked into my office with complaints of weak erections, low desire, and a loss of connection with their partners. And before we ever discussed medications or treatments, I asked them one simple question: how often do you move your body? Most of them hesitated. Not much music anymore. They'd say some hadn't taken a brisk walk in years, but when I guided them to begin a regular routine of aerobic activity, even something as modest as a daily 30-minute walk, the change was often profound, not just physically, but emotionally and relationally. You see, aerobic exercise does more than get your heart rate up. It wakes up the entire circulatory system, including the network of tiny arteries that feed blood into your penis. These blood vessels are incredibly sensitive when they're neglected due to aging, poor
lifestyle, or inactivity. They stiffen, narrow, and restrict blood flow that leads to softer erections, less sensation, and even emotional distance in intimate relationships. But when you reintroduce consistent movement, you breathe life back into your vascular system. Your blood pressure improves, your arteries regain flexibility, your endothelial function. The thin lining inside your blood vessels that regulates flow begins to heal. This isn't just theory, it's physiology. Even more remarkable, aerobic exercise boosts the body's production of nitric oxide, the molecule that helps blood vessels expand. It's like nature's own version of Viagra, but safer, longer lasting, and without side effects, and the benefits aren't limited to performance. Men often report clearer thinking, deeper sleep, better mood, and a renewed sense of vitality in their relationships. So what counts as aerobic movement? It doesn't have to be a gym membership or training for a race. A brisk walk around the block, light cycling, swimming, or even dancing in your living room counts. The key is to get your heart pumping and do it consistently, ideally 30 minutes a day. 5 days a week. One of my patients, James, age 67, started walking with his wife each morning. At first, it was just to support his heart health. But over time, something unexpected happened. He began feeling more energized. His erections improved. He felt more confident, more emotionally open, and their intimacy returned in a way they hadn't experienced in years. It was like we were 40 again. He told me, eyes full of hope. That's the power of movement. It's simple, free, and profoundly effective. But you have to start. You have to choose it. Even on the days when your joints ache or your motivation dips, because every step you take doesn't just add years to your life. It adds life to your years. And more importantly, it brings back the physical connection that may have quietly faded with time if you're ready to take control of your blood flow and intimacy. Start by lacing up your shoes. Tomorrow morning, let your legs carry you back to vitality, one walk at a time. And once you're moving, there's another key to unlocking better circulation and intimacy. It's what you put on your plate, because the right foods don't just fuel your body, they can also heal your arteries and fire up your desire. Let's take a look. If you're still here, and these insights are resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments. I'd love to know you're still with me on this journey. Now, let's keep going with the next essential step. 2. Embrace a heart-healthy, blood-flowing diet. One of the most overlooked truths I share with my patients is this. What you eat shows up in your blood vessels and your bedroom. When men over 60 come to me complaining about poor circulation, lack of sensitivity, or a fading sex drive, the first place I look isn't their hormones or medications. I look at their plate. Because the truth is, every bite you take is either fueling your blood flow or fighting against it. The standard American diet, high in processed foods, sugars, fried items, and saturated fats, clogs arteries, inflames tissue, and gradually suffocates the very blood vessels. Your erections depend on the same narrowing that leads to heart attacks and strokes, often shows up first in the smallest arteries like those in the penis. But here's the good news. Food can also be one of the most powerful forms of medicine. I've watched men completely turn their intimacy around by making targeted smart changes to their daily eating habits. I'm talking about real sustainable foods that repair endothelial cells, reduce inflammation, and increase nitric oxide, which helps blood vessels dilate and stay open during arousal. So what should you eat to reclaim your circulation and revive your connection? Focus on fresh whole foods that love your blood vessels. Leafy greens like spinach and arugula are packed with nitrates that boost nitric oxide. Naturally, beets are another miracle food rich in compounds that widen blood vessels and enhance performance. Omega-3. Rich fish like salmon and sardines support healthy cholesterol and lower triglycerides, keeping your arteries smooth and flexible. Add in some healthy fats from avocados, olive oil, and walnuts, and your entire cardiovascular system starts to breathe again. I remember a man named Robert, age 70, who came to see me after he began to withdraw from intimacy with his wife. He thought it was just aging, but his blood work showed high cholesterol, pre-diabetes, and early signs of arterial stiffness. We didn't start with prescriptions, we started in the kitchen. He began eating a plant for Ian-style diet. Lots of greens, fish, olive oil, whole grains, berries. Within 3 months, he had more energy, better glucose control, and most importantly, his confidence in the bedroom returned. His wife called it the most unexpected miracle. Food doesn't just impact your physical ability. It affects your hormones, your mood, your desire, and your ability to stay present and connected with your partner. And unlike quick fixes, a diet rich in whole healing foods build strength and resilience that lasts. Start by making one small change. Replace a processed breakfast with a green smoothie or oatmeal topped with berries and nuts. Swap red meat for grilled salmon twice a week. Fill half your plate with vegetables at dinner. These aren't restrictions, they're investments. Every meal is a chance to strengthen your circulation and nourish your intimacy. And as your arteries begin to open and your body responds, there's another critical area that often gets ignored but can unlock even more power in your performance. It's not about diet or cardio. It's hidden deeper in the muscles. Most men forget exist, and training them can take your confidence to a whole new level. Let me show you what I mean. 3. Train the pelvic floor muscles. Yes, keels for men. If there's one area of male health that has been quietly overlooked and yet holds incredible power, It's the pelvic floor. Most men don't think about it until something goes wrong. Trouble holding in urine, difficulty maintaining an erection, or a feeling of weakness during intimacy. But let me tell you, from over 3 decades of treating men over 60, strengthening your pelvic floor can to be one of the most transformational things you do for your blood flow, your confidence, and your connection. I still remember when Tom, a 66-year-old retired school teacher, came to see me. He'd been struggling for months. Erections weren't as firm, sensation was reduced, and even when he felt aroused, he couldn't maintain things long enough to feel truly connected with his wife. He had tried a few supplements, even a prescription, but they offered only temporary help. What he needed was foundational strength, and it wasn't in a bottle. It was in his pelvic floor, the group of deep muscles that sit like a sling at the base of the pelvis, supporting the bladder bowel, and yes, the penis. When these muscles are weak, blood doesn't stay where it needs to. During an erection, you lose firmness, stamina, and control, but when trained correctly, these muscles act like a natural pump, enhancing blood retention, improving angle and strength, and giving you the ability to last longer and feel more. It's like adding a hidden layer of power beneath the surface, the best part you don't need. Equipment, medication, guideline, or appointments, just a bit of consistency. I taught Tom how to locate the right muscles, those you'd use to stop urinating midstream. Then I guided him to practice slow, focused contractions, squeeze, hold for 5 seconds and release. We started with 10 repetitions twice a day. No one could see him doing it, and he could practice while sitting, standing, or lying in bed. After about 6 weeks, Tom walked into my office with a grin I hadn't seen before. "I didn't expect this to work," he said, "but I feel in control." Again, my wife noticed too. This kind of exercise is more than mechanical. It restores confidence. It gives men back the ability to respond with strength and stay engaged, not just physically, but emotionally. When you know your body is working the way it should, something inside you shifts. You become more open, more present, more willing to pursue intimacy instead of pulling away from it. For many older men, the loss of erection strength isn't just a blood flow issue. It's a muscle tone issue, and like any muscle, the pelvic floor responds to consistent focus training. You don't have to push yourself hard, just commit to the practice daily. Within a few weeks, you'll start to feel a deeper sense of stability and a firmer sense of self. But if you're truly committed to lasting change, there's another piece of this puzzle you can't afford to ignore. It's not about muscles or movement. It's about rest and recovery. Something most men overlook until it's too late, and believe it or not, the quality of your sleep may be directly tied to the quality of your erections. Let's take a closer look. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, drop a number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and engaged. Let's keep moving forward. Here comes point number 4: sleep. Like your health depends on it, because it does. There's something deeply humbling about watching a strong man lose his spark. He doesn't talk about it openly, but it shows in the way he carries himself, in his silence, in how he avoids intimacy. I've seen this play out so many times in men over 60 who tell me they feel disconnected, not just from their partner, but from themselves. And when we dig a little deeper, I often find something surprising behind the problem. Poor sleep. Now, most people shrug off restless nights as a normal part of aging, but what many don't realize is that chronic sleep deprivation quietly destroys one of the most vital foundations of male vitality: testosterone and blood flow. You may not feel it after one bad night, but years of low-quality sleep compound in ways that profoundly affect your ability to perform, connect, and feel alive. Let me share a story. Frank, 69, came to me frustrated. His erections had weakened. Over the past year, he felt tired all the time, even though he wasn't doing much. We talked about exercise, diet, circulation, but nothing explained the drop-off. Then I asked, "How are you sleeping?" He sighed. 4, maybe 5 hours on a good night, he said, and I wake up 3 or 4 times, right? There was the answer. Sleep is not just rest, it's restoration. It's during deep sleep that your body produces testosterone, repairs blood vessels, and regulates cortisol, the stress hormone that tightens arteries and kills your sex drive. When you cut your sleep short, you're literally cutting off your body's ability to repair itself, and this shows up in the bedroom before almost anywhere else. Research shows that men who sleep less than 6 hours a night have significantly lower testosterone levels, and it doesn't stop there. Poor sleep increases inflammation, raises blood pressure, disrupts nitric oxide production, and leads to reduced sensitivity and performance. It's like trying to drive a high-performance engine on no oil. It might run, but not well and not for long. I worked with Frank to improve his sleep hygiene. We started with simple, powerful changes, setting a consistent bedtime, turning off screens an hour before bed, cutting back on caffeine in the afternoon, and creating a dark, quiet, cool bedroom environment. It wasn't immediate, but within a few weeks, Frank started sleeping through the night more often, and what happened next shocked him. His energy came back, his mood lifted, and slowly his intimacy returned. He told me, "It's like I woke up from a fog I didn't even know I was in." That's the beauty of sleep. It asks for nothing but your willingness to make space for it, and in return it gives you back your clarity, your strength, and your ability to connect, not just physically, but emotionally, because when you feel rested, everything changes. You approach your partner with warmth, not irritation. You feel desire again. You remember what it means to feel truly alive in your own skin. So tonight, when you lie down, treat sleep as the medicine. It is, let your body heal. Let your hormones restore. Let your blood vessels relax and flow freely again, because every great day and every intimate night begins with how you sleep and as your body starts to heal. In those quiet hours, there's one more force you need to master. It's not physical, but it's just as powerful as anything we've discussed. I'm talking about stress and how learning to release it can unlock an entirely new level of connection and performance. Let's dive into it. 5. Reduce stress through breath connection and purpose. I've sat across from countless men who told me, "Doctor, I think something's broken." They'd explain how their bodies weren't responding the way they used to, how intimacy had become difficult or even non-existent. They'd mention the usual suspects: age, diet, low testosterone. But often when I gently pressed a bit deeper, I'd find the true culprit wasn't physical. It was stress. Stress is quiet, but relentless. It doesn't just weigh down your shoulders, it constricts your blood vessels, tightens your chest, robs you of restful sleep, and slowly erodes your ability to feel desire, connection, and confidence. And over time, that chronic pressure begins to shut down healthy blood flow, especially to the areas most sensitive to circulation, like the sour penis. I remember one man, Alan, age 71, who had been married for over 4 decades. He came to me not because he was in pain, but because he was heartbroken. "We're not as close anymore," he said. "I just don't feel anything physically or emotionally." Alan wasn't on any harmful medications, and his blood work looked decent, but his life was full of quiet burdens: caring for his aging brother, managing financial pressure, holding in decades of unspoken grief. He carried all of that in his pie, and it was shutting him down from the inside. Stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, what we often call fight or flight in survival mode. Your body doesn't prioritize intimacy. It narrows blood vessels, pumps cortisol into your system, raises blood pressure, and suppresses sex hormones. In that state, arousal becomes harder to achieve and nearly impossible to sustain. But here's the hopeful truth. The same way stress closes you down, peace can open you back up when you take time to breathe deeply, slowly, intentionally. You signal to your body that it's safe again. You shift out of fight or flight and into rest and restore blood vessels. Relax. Nitric oxide increases your heart rate, steadies, and gradually circulation returns where it matters most. This isn't just psychological, it's biochemical. That's why I encourage every man over 60 to develop a daily stress reduction ritual. For some, it's early morning breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale for 8 for others. It's journaling, light yoga, or simply sitting quietly in nature. But what matters most is that you pause long enough to feel, because emotions buried alive never die. They live in your body and affect how it performs. Connection also plays a critical role. Human touch, eye contact, laughter. These aren't luxuries. They're vital signs of life. Talk with your spouse, your son, your best friend. Join a group, volunteer, return to something that gives you purpose. Because when your heart feels open again, your body often follows. Alan started practicing daily breathing. Cut back on commitments that drained him and began taking quiet walks with his wife, not to exercise, but to reconnect. 3 months later, he came back with tears in his eyes. "We're holding hands again," he said. "We're not 20, but I feel alive. I feel like a husband again." That's what reducing stress can do, not just for your heart, but for your entire sense of manhood. It clears space for intimacy, for energy, for life itself to return. And yet, even as you learn to calm your mind and reconnect emotionally, there's one more critical habit that could make or break your circulation, a behavior that some men hold on to without realizing. It's slowly cutting off their blood flow, performance, and hormone balance. It's time we talk about it, and if you're ready to fully reclaim your health, you can't ignore what comes next. 6. Quit smoking, moderate alcohol. There are conversations that are easy for me as a doctor. And then there are the hard ones. This is one of the hard ones, but it's also one of the most important. When a man sits across from me, looking for answers about why his body isn't responding the way it used to, why his erections are weaker, why desire has faded, why intimacy feels like a memory, I always ask him 2 things. Do you smoke, and how much do you drink? Sometimes he'll hesitate, sometimes he'll say, "I've cut back," or "It's just social." But more often than not, there's a quiet acknowledgement that these habits formed long ago have become part of daily life, and while they may seem small, the truth is they are directly damaging the very blood vessels responsible for sexual function and connection. Let's start with smoking. Nicotine is a vascular constrictor. It tightens your blood vessels, damages the lining of your arteries, and reduces your body's ability to produce nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for relaxing blood flow into the penis. What many men don't realize is that the arteries in the penis are smaller and more delicate than the ones in the heart. That means erectile problems are often the first visible symptom of underlying vascular damage. I once treated a 65-year-old man named Henry who had smoked for over 40 years. He tried medications for ED, but they now were losing effectiveness. He told me, "I'm doing everything else right, but this just won't go away." When I showed him how smoking had slowly narrowed the arteries in his pelvis and how quitting could literally open them back up over time, something clicked. It wasn't just about quitting cigarettes anymore. It was about getting his life and his marriage back. It took effort, support, and relapse, but he did it. And when he returned 6 months later, he told me, "I didn't just quit smoking. I got my body back. I got her back." Alcohol, too, is often misunderstood. A glass of wine here and there isn't the issue. In fact, moderate amounts, especially red wine, can have mild cardiovascular benefits. But too much too often, it starts to dull nerve sensitivity, interfere with hormone production, and weaken arousal. Chronic alcohol use is a known depressant, and it can rob you of spontaneity, confidence, and physical response. And it's not just about performance, it's about presence. I've seen how excess alcohol creates emotional distance, numbs feelings, and turns intimate moments into routine or obligation. And when a couple loses that spark, it's not always because of age. Sometimes it's because something has gotten in the way, and often that something comes in a bottle or a pack. But here's the encouraging part. Your body wants to heal, even after decades of smoking or heavy drinking. Your blood vessels can recover, nerve endings can repair, hormone levels can begin to rebalance. I've seen men in their 60s and 70s make the decision to let go of these habits, and within months, feel stronger, more responsive, more connected to their partner than they had in years. If you're holding on to one of these habits, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to remind you that freedom is possible, and so is restoration. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. Your body is waiting for the signal that you're ready to come back to life. And if you are ready, there's one final piece I want to share with you. It may be the most important of all. Not a lifestyle change, but a decision to take control of your health in a way most men delay far too long. It's the moment when you stop guessing and start truly knowing what's going on inside your body. Let's talk about that next 7. Get a vascular health checkup. This last one might be the hardest step for many men. Not because it's physically demanding, but because it requires courage. The courage to face the truth, to ask questions, and to finally stop ignoring the signals your body has been sending. But I can tell you without hesitation, getting a vascular health checkup could be the most powerful act of self-care you ever take. I've seen far too many men over 60 come into my office, frustrated about their performance, convinced something is wrong down there, when in reality, the issue goes far deeper. Erectile dysfunction is often the first visible symptom of a much bigger concern: poor vascular health. And the truth is, those same narrowed or damaged arteries that are affecting your ability to get or maintain an erection might also be quietly increasing your risk for heart disease, stroke, or even diabetes. I'll never forget Paul, 72, who came to see me with concerns about a drop in libido and weak erections. He had written it off as I saw just aging, but something in his voice told me he wasn't convinced. We ran a few simple tests: blood pressure, fasting, glucose, cholesterol, and what we found changed everything. He had undiagnosed type 2 diabetes, dangerously high blood pressure, and early-stage atherosclerosis. His penis wasn't the problem. It was his arteries that quite literally saved his life. Getting a vascular checkup is not just about treating symptoms. It's about understanding your body and preventing the storm before it hits. It starts with a basic panel: blood pressure readings, Sanfran, cholesterol levels, blood sugar, and hormone tests. But we can go further. Doppler ultrasounds to check blood flow in the penis, testosterone levels, and even cardiac evaluations if needed. This kind of information is power, because once you know what's really happening inside your body, you can act, you can change direction, you can make informed choices, instead of living with silent damage year after year. Many men avoid these tests out of fear of what they might discover, fear of being judged, fear that they've waited too long. But I promise you, facing the truth is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's a man saying, I care enough about myself and the people I love to find out the truth and do something about it. And here's the part that gives me hope: once we catch these problems early, the body responds, blood vessels can heal, hormone levels can be optimized, metabolism can be managed, and yes, erections can improve, sometimes dramatically. Intimacy returns, confidence comes back, and the distance between you and your partner begins to close again. So if you've made it this far and you're serious about reclaiming your vitality, don't skip this step. Make the appointment, ask the hard questions, get the answers. This is how real change begins, not with guessing, but with knowing. And now that you've walked through all 7 essential ways to improve blood flow and connection, after 60, there's one final message I want to leave you with. It's not about science or routines. It's about belief. Belief in what's still possible and what your future can still hold. Let's talk about that together. 8 final thoughts. I want to leave you with something I've learned not just from textbooks or medical journals, but from sitting across from real men for more than 3 decades, men just like you. Men who have worked hard, loved deeply, sacrificed for their families, and are now trying to understand what it means to grow older with strength, dignity, and connection.